The day the aliens came was just like any other for Kevin K. Reeves. He sat at his desk in the basement level of the United Earth Alliance building, sorting through stacks of paperwork. His job was simple: translate alien messages and file diplomatic reports. It wasn't exciting work, but Kay was good at it. He had a knack for languages and an eye for details others missed. Kay wasn't tall or strong or particularly handsome. He had plain brown hair that needed a cut and wore simple black suits that were a size too big. People often forgot his name minutes after meeting him. This suited Kay just fine. He preferred to watch and listen rather than be noticed. The office. Lights flickered as the building shook slightly. Kay looked up from his work, frowning. Earthquake drills weren't scheduled for today. His phone rang. "Reeves," he answered. "Get up here now," said Director Summers, his boss. "6th floor, main, conference room. What's happening, sir?" "The Zoraxians are here." Kay felt his heart skip. The Zoraxians were one of the most advanced alien races in the known galaxy. They hadn't contacted Earth in over 50 years. Their ships were faster, their weapons stronger, and their technology at least a century beyond Earth's best efforts. And they knew it. "Why do you need me?" Kay asked, already standing and straightening his rumpled tie. "Ambassador Harris collapsed 5 minutes ago. Food poisoning or nerves, the medics aren't sure. You're the only one in the building who studied Zoraxian culture and language patterns." That wasn't entirely true. Kay had studied them, yes, but as a hobby. He had no official training. "Sir, I don't think—" "Just get up here, Reeves. The fate of Earth might depend on this meeting." The line went dead. Kay grabbed his tablet and ran for the elevator. His mind raced through everything he knew about Zoraxians. They were tall, with skin so pale it was almost see-through. You could see the blue and purple veins under their skin. They had 3 fingers on each hand and large red eyes that didn't blink enough. They lived 3 times longer than humans and thought humans were primitive and emotional. Most importantly, they respected intelligence and preparation above all else. When the elevator doors opened on the 6th floor, Kay nearly ran into Susan Martinez, the assistant director. "Thank God," she said, grabbing his arm. "They're already here. Just remember, don't show fear, don't apologize too much, and whatever you do, don't let them know you're a last-minute replacement." She pushed a blue folder into his hands. "Your talking points. Good luck." Before Kay could protest, she pushed him toward the large double doors of the main conference room. 2 security guards nodded at him and opened the doors. Inside, 3 Zoraxians stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking down at the city below. They turned as one when Kay entered. The tallest one, wearing what looked like liquid metal draped over his thin frame, stepped forward. "You are not Ambassador Harris," he said in perfect English. His voice had a strange echo to it, like he was speaking in a metal tube. "I am Agent Kevin Reeves," Kay said, keeping his voice steady. "I will be representing Earth in today's discussions." The Zoraxian tilted his head. His red eyes seemed to look through Kay rather than at him. "We expected your species to send someone significant." Kay felt a flash of annoyance but kept his face neutral. This was a test, the first of many. The Zoraxians were famous for their arrogance. "I apologize if I don't meet your expectations," Kay said. Then, instead of defending himself, he added, "Perhaps you could tell me what makes a diplomat significant in Zoraxian culture? I'd be very interested to learn." The question caught the alien off guard. Zoraxians loved to talk about their culture but rarely got asked about it. They usually just lectured other species. The lead Zoraxian, who introduced himself as Azor, straightened to his full height, at least 7 feet tall. "In our society, diplomats are chosen for their age and experience. I have served the Zoraxian Empire for over 120 of your Earth years. My colleagues Mira and Zell have served for 80 and 60 years respectively." Kay nodded, with genuine interest. "That's impressive. Earth has a different approach. We select representatives based on their specific knowledge and skills for each diplomatic situation. Experience matters, but so does specialized knowledge." "And what specialized knowledge do you bring, Agent Reeves?" asked the female Zoraxian Mira. Her voice was smoother than Zor's, but no less challenging. Kay thought quickly. The truth wouldn't work here. I've spent the last 8 years studying Zoraxian history and customs. I've read all the records of previous Earth-Zorax interactions and speak some of your language. This last part was barely true. He knew perhaps 50 Zoraxian words, hardly enough to hold a conversation. Sora's eyes narrowed. Say something in our tongue, then. Kay took a small breath and recited the only Zoraxian greeting he knew perfectly. Beltorax Mecta Zorax, Urtan Mel Earth. The words meant, honored representatives of Zorax, Earth welcomes you in peace. His pronunciation must have been acceptable because Zor looked slightly surprised. The third Zoraxian, Zell, who hadn't spoken yet, made a small movement with his hand, a sign of respect in their culture. Please sit, Kay said, gesturing to the large conference table. We have refreshments prepared that are safe for your biology. As they sat, Kay noticed how the Zoraxians moved, smooth and precise like machines. They placed their 3-fingered hands flat on the table and sat with perfectly straight backs. We will not waste time with pleasantries, Zor said. We have come because your species has expanded too quickly. Your colonies on Mars and Europa concern us. Your radio signals spread disorder in this sector. Kay nodded, taking notes on his tablet. I understand your concerns. Earth's expansion has been rapid in the last 20 years, but we've been careful to follow the Galactic Council's guidelines for new spacefaring species. Guidelines we helped create, Mira said, and that we feel are too generous. Kay noticed something important then. The Zoraxians were speaking to him directly. They weren't talking down to him or acting like he was stupid, which was how they usually treated humans. His gambit about knowing their language and culture had worked. They thought he was a specialist. If I may ask, Kay said carefully, what specific actions have concerned your government? It would help us address those concerns directly. The 3 aliens exchanged glances. Their skin rippled slightly with colors, a form of non-verbal communication Kay had read about. They were surprised by his direct approach. Zor leaned forward. Your Europa base. It is too close to the subsurface ocean. Your scientists drill deeper each month. What are you looking for? Kay knew exactly what they were worried about. Europa's ocean was one of the most likely places to find alien life in our solar system. The Zoraxians had strict rules about contacting new life forms. We're studying the ocean environment, Kay said, but all samples are processed according to Galactic Council containment protocols. We've found interesting microbes, but nothing sentient. All our reports are filed publicly. Reports can be incomplete. Zell spoke for the first time. His voice was deeper than the others. Kay saw his opening. We would welcome Zoraxian observers at the Europa facility. Your expertise would be valuable to our scientists. This offer surprised them. Humans had never invited Zoraxians to observe their work before. You would allow our people access to your most advanced research station? Mira asked. With proper security arrangements, yes, Kay said. Earth has nothing to hide. We want to learn not just from Europa's ocean, but from more advanced species like yours. The flattery was calculated, but not untrue. Humans did have much to learn from the Zoraxians. Zor's skin rippled with colors again as he communicated silently with his colleagues. Kay waited patiently, not showing any discomfort during the long silence. We will consider your offer, Zor finally said. But there are other matters to discuss. Your ships have been mapped traveling beyond your solar system without filing proper flight plans. For the next 2 hours, Kay addressed each Zoraxian concern calmly and directly. When he didn't know an answer, he admitted it and promised to get the information. When the aliens made unreasonable demands, he politely suggested alternatives. He never showed frustration or fear, even when Zor's tone became threatening. By the end of the meeting, the Zoraxians seemed less hostile. They agreed to continue talks the next day and accepted Kay's invitation to tour the Earth Alliance headquarters. After they left, Director Summers rushed in. What happened? They didn't look angry when they left. That's a first for Zoraxian diplomats. Kay rubbed his tired eyes. They're testing us, sir. They think Earth is getting too powerful too quickly. They want to slow us down. And I let them think I'm an expert on their culture. I've bought us some time. Kay gathered his notes. But we need to prepare for tomorrow. They'll have harder questions and bigger demands. Summers looked at Kay with new respect. Ambassador Harris is still sick. Looks like you're our Zoraxian expert now, Reeves. Kay nodded slowly. He had never wanted to be important or noticed, but as he watched the Zoraxian ship hovering outside the window, sleek and dangerous against the blue sky, he knew everything had changed. Earth needed him, and he wouldn't let his planet down. The second day of talks with the Zoraxians began early. Kay arrived at the conference room an hour before the meeting to prepare. He had barely slept, spending most of the night reading everything he could find about Zoraxian culture, history, and diplomatic tactics. His eyes burned from lack of sleep, but his mind was sharp. Director Summers entered the room, followed by two new people Kay hadn't met before. One was a tall man in a military uniform with short gray hair and a stern face. The other was a woman with dark skin and curly black hair wearing a lab coat over a blue dress. Agent Reeves, this is General Paul Bradley, head of Earth Defense, and Dr. Alice Wright, our lead scientist at the Europa Research Station, Summers said. I've asked them to join today's talks. Kay nodded at them. Good to meet you both. I should warn you that the Zoraxians seem particularly concerned about our activities on Europa. Dr. Wright frowned. We've followed all the protocols for research in potentially life-bearing environments. What's their problem? I think they're worried we might find something valuable, Kay said, or make contact with a new life form without their supervision. General Bradley snorted. Typical. They think they own the galaxy. They kinda do, Kay said quietly. Their empire spans 12 star systems. They have technology we can barely understand. We need to be careful. The doors opened and the three Zoraxians entered, moving with their strange flowing grace. Today they wore different outfits, still, made of the liquid metal-like material, but in darker colors that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Kay stepped forward. Welcome back. May I introduce General Paul Bradley and Dr. Alice Wright, who will join us today. Xor looked at the newcomers with his unblinking red eyes. More specialists? Yes, Kay said smoothly. General Bradley can address your concerns about our defense systems, and Dr. Wright is our lead scientist on Europa. Mira, the female Zoraxian, focused on Dr. Wright. Your work interests us greatly, Doctor. Perhaps you could explain why your team has increased drilling operations by 40% in the last Earth month? Dr. Wright looked surprised. How do you know about our drilling schedule? Zell, the youngest Zoraxian, made a sound that might have been a laugh. We have ways of observing. Kay stepped in before Dr. Wright could respond angrily. I'm sure Dr. Wright would be happy to explain the scientific reasons for the increased drilling. But first, shall we all sit down? Once everyone was seated, Dr. Wright explained that they had found interesting mineral formations deep in Europa's ice. The formations contained compounds never seen before, and they were trying to collect enough samples to study properly. And these compounds, Xor said, leaning forward, they have no military applications? General Bradley stiffened. We are conducting scientific research, not weapons development. Yet your military funds 60% of the Europa project, Mira said. Kay was surprised by this information. He glanced at Dr. Wright, who looked uncomfortable. The military funds many scientific projects, Kay said carefully. It's how our budget system works. It doesn't mean the research is for weapons. Xor's skin rippled with colors as he communicated silently with his colleagues. Then he placed a small device on the table. It projected a holographic image of Europa rotating slowly. We have been monitoring your moon, he said. 3 days ago, your team extracted this. The image zoomed in to show a drilling operation. Workers in spacesuits were carefully removing something from the ice, something that glowed with a soft blue light. Dr. Wright's face paled. How did you get this footage? That is not important, Xor said. What is important is what you found. A piece of precursor technology, yes? Kay kept his face neutral, but his mind was racing. Precursors were what humans called the mysterious ancient alien civilization, that had apparently visited Earth and other planets thousands of years ago. Their technology was incredibly advanced and extremely rare. We don't know what it is yet, Dr. Wright said. It could be a natural formation. Do not insult our intelligence, Mira said coldly. We have been studying precursor artifacts for millennia. Your species has barely left its own solar system. Kay saw that the situation was getting tense. Dr. Wright looked defensive and General Bradley was getting angry. He needed to change the direction of the conversation. You're right, Kay said, surprising everyone. We believe it may be precursor technology. And yes, we are very interested in studying it. Wouldn't you be if you found such an artifact? The Zoraxian seemed taken aback by his honesty. But, Kay continued, we're also aware of how little we know. That's why I suggested yesterday that we would welcome Zoraxian observers at our Europa facility. Your expertise would be invaluable. Zor's eyes narrowed. You offer us a position as observers, when it is our right to claim any precursor technology found in this sector. According to what agreement? General Bradley asked sharply. The Galactic Antiquities Protocol, Zell said, signed by 12 advanced species over 3,000 years ago. Earth never signed this agreement, Kay pointed out, because you were, still using stone tools when it was created, Mira said with obvious disdain. The room grew quiet. Kay could feel the anger from his fellow humans, but he kept his own emotions in check. Getting angry would only prove the Zoraxians right about humans being too emotional. I understand your position, Kay said calmly. But under Earth law, anything found on Europa belongs to all humanity. We can't simply hand over the artifact. Then, perhaps, Zor said, his voice suddenly cold, we should discuss what will happen if you refuse. General Bradley leaned forward. Is that a threat? A reality, Zor replied. Your planet is alone, unprotected. There are species in this galaxy, far less diplomatic than we are. The threat hung in the air. Kay watched as General Bradley's hand moved toward the emergency button under the table, a signal that would put Earth's defenses on high alert. Wait, Kay said. He looked directly at Zor. You mentioned earlier that Zoraxians have studied precursor technology for millennia. Does that mean you found many artifacts? Exor hesitated before answering. We have found 17 intact pieces and hundreds of fragments. And how many of those were discovered in the last 100 years? 3, Mira answered. Kay nodded thoughtfully. So they're extremely rare. And valuable, I imagine. Beyond your comprehension, Zell said. Then I'd like to propose a different approach, Kay said. A joint research project. The artifact stays on Europa, under Earth protection. But Zoraxian scientists work alongside ours to study it. All discoveries are shared equally. The Zoraxian skin rippled as they communicated silently. Kay waited patiently. Why would we agree to this? Zor finally asked. We could simply take what we want. You could try, General Bradley said quietly. Kay shot him a warning look before turning back to Zor. Because war is costly, even for the Zoraxian Empire, and because we found one artifact, which means there might be more on Europa, working together would benefit both our species. He paused, then added, plus, humans approach problems differently than Zoraxians. Our scientists might see things. Yours, miss, our emotional thinking sometimes leads to unexpected insights. This was a calculated comment. Kay had read that Zoraxian scientists occasionally struggled with creative thinking because of their rigid logical approach. The 3 aliens conferred silently again, their skin changing colors rapidly. We will consider your proposal, Zor finally said. But we require proof that your intentions are honest. We want scans of the artifact transmitted to our ship immediately. Dr. Wright started to protest, but Kay held up his hand. We can provide basic structural scans. The detailed analysis can be part of our joint research. After more negotiation, the Zoraxians agreed to Kay's terms. As they prepared to leave, Mira approached Kay separately. You are not what we expected, Agent Reeves, she said. What did you expect? Kay asked. Humans are typically defensive and emotional when challenged. You are Different. Kay smiled slightly. Maybe you need to meet more humans. Perhaps, she said. Her red eyes studied him carefully. Or perhaps you are unique among your kind. A mind that thinks more like a Zoraxian. I'll take that as a compliment, Kay said. It was not meant as one, Mira replied. But there was something like respect in her voice. After the Zoraxians left, Director Summers clapped Kay on the shoulder. That was brilliant. You turned a potential conflict into a partnership. General Bradley looked less pleased. You gave them access to precursor technology. That's a security risk. With respect, General, Kay said. They already knew about the artifact. Refusing to work with them would have just made them our enemies. This way we keep some control and learn from them at the same time. Dr. Wright nodded. He's right, Paul. And having Zoraxian scientists at our facility will actually be amazing. Their knowledge of precursor tech is legendary. As the others left to prepare for the next steps, Kay stayed behind in the empty conference room. He looked out the window at the Zoraxian ship hovering in the distance. Something didn't add up. Why were the Zoraxians so interested in one small artifact? And how had they known about the drilling operation in such detail? Kay had the feeling he was missing something important. The Zoraxians were hiding something, and he needed to figure out what it was before their next meeting. Kay couldn't sleep. After 2 days of talks with the Zoraxians, he felt like he was missing something important. He sat in his small apartment, surrounded by notes and research materials about Zoraxian culture and history. The blue light of his computer screen lit up his tired face as he searched for answers. Why were the Zoraxians so interested in one precursor artifact? They claimed to have found 17 intact pieces over thousands of years. Why was this one so special? Kay rubbed his eyes and checked the time. 2:30 a.m. He had to be back at the United Earth Alliance building by 7 for the next meeting. Just as he was about to give up and try to sleep, his phone rang. Reeves, he answered, his voice rough from fatigue. It's Dr. Wright, said the scientist from Europa. I need to show you something. Can you come to the lab right now? 20 minutes later, Kay arrived at the science division, located in the east wing of the UEA building. Security was tight because of the Zoraxian visit, but his diplomatic badge got him through. Dr. Wright was waiting for him in a small, brightly lit lab. She looked as tired as Kay felt. On a table in the center of the room was a clear container. Inside it floated a small object that glowed with soft blue light. The precursor artifact. They brought it here from Europa yesterday, Dr. Wright explained. We didn't tell the Zoraxians, of course. Kay approached the container carefully. The artifact was about the size of his palm, shaped like a flattened oval with strange markings on its surface. It pulsed with light, almost like it was breathing. It's beautiful, Kay said. And dangerous, Dr. Wright added. We've been running tests on it for the past 12 hours, that's why I called you. She handed him a tablet with test results on the screen. Look at these energy readings. Kay studied the numbers and graphs, but they didn't make much sense. To him. I'm not a scientist, Dr. Wright. What am I looking at? The artifact is putting out an energy signature, unlike anything we've ever seen. But here's the strange part. She swiped to a new screen showing a different set of readings. This is data from long-range scans of the Zoraxian ship. Kay's eyes widened as he compared the two sets of readings. They're almost identical. Dr. Wright nodded. Whatever powers their ship is somehow related to this technology. That's why they're so interested in it. And there's something else. She took the tablet back and pulled up a star map. We've been tracking unusual energy bursts from this region of space, about 6 light-years from Earth. The signature matches both the artifact and the Zoraxian ship. Kay felt a chill run down his spine. You think there's more precursor technology there? A lot more? That's my guess, Dr. Wright said. And I think the Zoraxians know about it too. That's why they're here. Not just for our little artifact, but because they think we might lead them to a bigger prize. Kay's mind raced. This changed everything. If the Zoraxians were hiding their true intentions, What else were they lying about? Does Director Summers know about this? He asked. Not yet. I wanted to show you first because you seem to understand them better than anyone else. Kay stared at the glowing artifact. We need to be very careful how we use this information. If the Zoraxians realize we know... He was interrupted by a loud alarm. Red lights began flashing throughout the lab. Security breach, a computerized voice announced over the speakers. All personnel evacuate immediately. Kay and Dr. Wright exchanged alarmed looks. The artifact, Kay said. We need to secure it. But before they could move, the lab door slid open. Standing in the doorway was a security guard, but something was wrong with his face. It seemed to shimmer and shift like a bad hologram. Step away from the artifact, the guard said in a voice that was definitely not human. Kay moved in front of Dr. Wright protectively. Who are you? The guard's face continued to shimmer, then suddenly changed completely. Human features melted away to reveal the translucent skin and red eyes of a Zoraxian, but not one of the 3 diplomats they had met. I am here for what? Belongs to the Empire, the Zoraxian said, raising a strange-looking weapon. Kay thought quickly. The alarm was still blaring, which meant real security would arrive soon. He just needed to stall. The artifact doesn't belong to anyone yet. Kay said calmly. That's what our governments are negotiating. The Zoraxian moved closer, weapon still raised. Negotiations are a waste of time. Your primitive species does not deserve precursor technology. Then why disguise yourself as a human? Kay asked. Why not just demand it officially? The alien hesitated. Not all Zoraxians agree on how to deal with your kind. Kay realized something important then. This wasn't an official action by the Zoraxian government. This was something else. A rogue agent, maybe, or a faction within their society that didn't support the diplomatic approach. You're not here on official business, are you? Kay said. Your government doesn't know what you're doing. The Zoraxian's skin rippled with colors. Anger, Kay guessed. Enough talking. Give me the artifact now. Kay heard footsteps in the hallway. Real security was getting closer. He needed to keep the intruder talking. You can disguise yourself as a human, Kay said. That's not something the diplomats told us your species could do. There are many things about us you do not know, the Zoraxian replied. Like how badly you need this technology. Kay gestured to the artifact. Dr. Wright figured it out. The energy signature matches your ship's. You're running out of power for your empire, aren't you? The alien's eyes widened slightly. Kay had hit a nerve. Your civilization depends on precursor technology that you barely understand. Kay continued. And now you're desperate to find more. That's why you're really here. The Zoraxian raised its weapon higher. You know nothing, human. I know that shooting us won't get you what you want, Kay said. Because this isn't the real artifact. This was a complete lie, but Kay said it with such conviction that doubt flashed across the alien's face. You're lying, the Zoraxian said, but there was uncertainty in its voice. Am I? Kay moved slightly to block the container from view. Why would we keep the real artifact in an unsecured lab? That's just a copy we're studying. The real one is hidden somewhere safe. The Zoraxian's skin rippled with more colors. It was confused, unsure what to do. In that moment of hesitation, 4 human security guards burst into the room with weapons drawn. Drop your weapon, one of them shouted at the Zoraxian. The alien looked from the guards to Kay, then back at the artifact. In a sudden movement, it fired its weapon. Not at any person, but at the ceiling. A section of the roof exploded, sending debris falling into the room. In the confusion, the Zoraxian activated some kind of device on its wrist and vanished in a flash of light. When the dust settled, Kay checked on Dr. Wright, who was shaken, but unhurt. The artifact was still safely in its container. What the hell was that? One of the security guards asked. And where did it go? Teleportation technology, Dr. Wright said with a mix of fear and scientific excitement. They're even more advanced than we thought. Kay helped her up. We need to tell Director Summers everything, and we need to talk to the Zoraxian diplomats. I think they have a lot more explaining to do. An hour later, Kay sat in Director Summers' office with Dr. Wright, General Bradley, and a very angry director. "So you're telling me they can look like us?" Summers asked, his face red with anger. "That they have teleportation technology, and that this whole diplomatic mission might be a cover for something else?" "I don't think the diplomats are directly involved in the break-in," Kay said. "The intruder implied he was acting on his own. There might be different factions among the Zoraxians." "Or it's just what they want us to think," General Bradley said. "This could be an elaborate good cop, bad cop routine." Kay shook his head. "I don't think so. The intruder seemed genuinely surprised that I knew about the energy signature connection. I think the diplomatic team is keeping secrets, yes, but this attack wasn't part of their plan." "So, what do we do now?" Dr. Wright asked. Kay thought for a moment. "We need to confront them about the shape-shifting and teleportation, but we should hold back what we know about the energy signature and the readings from that region of space. That's our leverage." Director Summers nodded slowly. "Agreed. The meeting is in 2 hours. General, I want security doubled. Dr. Wright, move the artifact to the secure vault. And Reeves." He looked at Kay with a mix of respect and worry. "Be careful. You've managed to stay one step ahead of them so far, but they're dangerous." Kay nodded. As he left to prepare for the confrontation, he wondered if he really was staying ahead of the Zoraxians, or if he was just now beginning to see their true game. 2 hours after the break-in, Kay sat across from the 3 Zoraxian diplomats in the main conference room. The mood was tense. Director Summers sat on Kay's right with General Bradley on his left. Dr. Wright had stayed behind to secure the artifact in the underground vault. Xor, the lead Zoraxian diplomat, looked at the humans with his unblinking red eyes. "You requested this emergency meeting. Has something happened?" Kay studied their faces carefully, looking for any sign that they knew about the break-in. He saw nothing unusual, but with aliens who could change their appearance, could he really trust what he saw? "There was an incident in our science lab last night," Kay said calmly. "An intruder tried to steal the precursor artifact. The Zoraxians showed no obvious reaction." Mira tilted her head slightly. "A human thief? That is unfortunate but not surprising. Such technology would be valuable." "It wasn't a human," Kay said. "It was a Zoraxian disguised as a human security guard." Now there was a reaction. Zor's skin rippled with colors, and Zell, the youngest diplomat, actually stood up from his chair. "That is impossible," Zell said. "No Zoraxian would—" "Sit down, Zell," Zor interrupted sharply. He turned to Kay. "What proof do you have of this serious accusation?" Kay nodded to Director Summers, who placed a tablet on the table. It showed security footage of the incident. The video clearly showed the guard's face shifting to reveal Zoraxian features. "We also have DNA evidence from particles left behind," Kay added. This was not exactly true. Dr. Wright was still analyzing what the intruder had left behind, but Kay wanted to see their reaction. Xor's skin darkened, a sign of anger or concern. If this is true, then the individual acted without authorization. The Zoraxian Empire does not condone theft or espionage. "But you do have the ability to look like humans?" General Bradley asked directly. "Something you failed to mention in our previous talks?" The 3 diplomats exchanged glances, their skin rippling with colors as they communicated silently. "Some Zoraxians possess this ability," Mira finally admitted. "It is a rare genetic trait, not a technology. Less than 5% of our population can alter their appearance this way." "And teleportation?" Kay asked. "The intruder vanished when our security arrived." More silent communication between the aliens. Kay noticed that Zell seemed to be arguing with the others, his colors changing rapidly. "We have personal transportation devices," Zor said reluctantly. "They are not true teleportation, merely advanced movement technology." General Bradley leaned forward. "So you've been hiding your true capabilities from us while demanding full disclosure about our activities." "We do not share all our technology with less advanced species," Zor said. "That is standard practice across the galaxy. You would do the same in our position." Kay decided to change the subject before General Bradley could escalate the tension further. The intruder said something interesting. He suggested that not all Zoraxians agree on how to deal with humans. Are there factions within your government that might act independently? Xor and Mira looked at each other, clearly surprised by the question. Zell stared at the table, avoiding eye contact. Our government is unified, Xor stated firmly. Kay didn't believe him. The reaction from Zell was too telling. The intruder also seemed very interested in the artifact's energy signature. Why is that particular type of energy so important to your people? Now all three Zoraxians looked uncomfortable. Kay knew he had hit on something important. All precursor. Technology is valuable for scientific study, Mira said carefully. Of course, Kay agreed. But this seems different. The energy signature from the artifact matches your ships. Are they powered by similar technology? Xor's eyes narrowed. Your scientists have been scanning our vessels? That is a violation of diplomatic protocol. Just basic energy readings, Kay said. Standard procedure for any ship in Earth orbit. We need to make sure nothing poses a danger to our planet. The Zoraxians conferred silently again. Kay watched Zell, who seemed the most agitated. The young diplomat kept glancing at Kay, then away, his skin changing colors rapidly. Finally, Xor spoke. Very well. Some transparency may be required given the circumstances. Yes, our ships use energy technology similar to what you found in the artifact. Precursor technology forms the basis of many of our advanced systems. But you don't fully understand how it works, do you? Kay asked, remembering Dr. Wright's theory. You can use it, but you can't replicate it. Mira's skin darkened. Few species truly understand precursor technology. They were far more advanced than any living civilization. Kay saw his opening. Which is why finding new artifacts is so important to your empire. You need them to maintain your technological edge. Zell suddenly stood up again. This is pointless. They know too much already. We should— Zell! Xor's voice was sharp, commanding. Remember your place. The young diplomat sat down, but his skin continued to pulse with angry colors. Kay looked directly at Xor. I think it's time for complete honesty between our species. The break-in has changed things. We need to know exactly why you're here and what you want. Xor was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed, a surprisingly human gesture. Very well. Agent Reeves, the truth is more complex than we initially presented. He placed a small device on the table, similar to the one he had used before. It projected a holographic map of space around Earth. For thousands of years, the Zoraxian Empire has used precursor technology to power our civilization. Our ancestors found caches of artifacts that provided nearly unlimited energy. But in recent centuries, these power sources have begun to fade. We cannot create new ones because, as you correctly guessed, we do not fully understand how they work. That year, hologram zoomed in on a region of space about 6 light-years from Earth, the same region Dr. Wright had identified. Our long-range scans detected a massive energy signature in this area. Xor continued, the largest concentration of precursor energy ever recorded. We believe it may be a primary installation, perhaps even a manufacturing facility for the power sources we use. And it's in Earth's backyard, Kay said, understanding dawning. That's why you're suddenly so interested in us. You think we might find it first. Mira nodded. Your species is expanding rapidly. Your exploration ships will reach that region within 20 years. By galactic standards, that is very soon. So all this talk about Europa and our colonies was just a distraction? General Bradley asked. You really want this power plant? The concerns about your expansion were genuine, Xor said. But yes, our primary interest is the precursor installation. When your scientists found that artifact on Europa, we realized you might discover its connection to the larger energy signature. Kay thought carefully before speaking. So what happens now? Do you expect us to just give you directions to this installation once we find it? What we want, Xor said, is a formal alliance. Joint exploration of the installation, with shared access to whatever we find. Director Summers, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke up. And if we refuse? Zell made a sound that might have been a laugh. Then we simply wait. 20 years is nothing to us. Once you find the installation, we will come and take it. Your defenses cannot stop us. Zell speaks too boldly, Zor said quickly. But there is truth in his words. This discovery is too important for the Empire to ignore. We would prefer a peaceful arrangement. But we will do what is necessary. Kay looked at the holographic map, at the glowing point that represented the mysterious precursor installation. He thought about the shape-shifting intruder, about the teleportation technology, about all the things the Zoraxians had kept hidden. I have a counter-proposal, Kay said. We form a joint exploration mission now. Not in 20 years, but immediately. Earth provides the ships and Zorax provides the technology to reach the installation faster than we could alone. The Zoraxians looked surprised. Clearly they hadn't expected humans to suggest immediate action. That is not what we anticipated, Mira admitted. Why wait? Kay said. If this installation is as important as you say, shouldn't we investigate it together, now before some other species finds it? Kay saw the subtle glance between Exor and Mira. There was something they still weren't saying. What aren't you telling us? Kay asked directly. Is there another reason for urgency? Exor's skin darkened. Your perception is remarkable, Agent Reeves. Yes, there is another factor. We are not the only ones who detected the energy signature. At least 2 other advanced civilizations are also seeking the installation. One of them, the Dracon Collective, is particularly aggressive. Now the full picture was becoming clear to Kay. The Zoraxians weren't just worried about humans finding the installation first. They were in a race against other powerful aliens. And Earth, with its strategic position, had suddenly become very important in that race. So your offer of an alliance is really about using Earth as a staging area for your own mission, Kay said. It would benefit both our species, Xor insisted. Kay looked at Director Summers and General Bradley. They both gave slight nods, understanding Kay's strategy. We'll need to discuss your proposal in private, Kay said to the Zoraxians. And we'll need full disclosure about your technology, your intentions, and these other species who are looking for the installation. No more secrets. Xor's skin rippled with colors as he communicated with his colleagues. Finally, he nodded. Agreed. Full disclosure. 3 weeks had passed since the confrontation with the Zoraxian diplomats. In that time, Kay's life had changed completely. He now led the joint Earth-Zorax mission planning team, working directly with Azor and Mira to prepare for the expedition to the precursor installation. His small basement office had been replaced by a large command center on the top floor of the United Earth Alliance building, with a view of both the city and the Zoraxian ship still hovering in the distance. Today was the final planning meeting before the mission launch. Kay arrived early as usual and found Dr. Wright already there reviewing data on a large screen. Morning, Alice, Kay said, using her first name as they had become friends during these intense weeks. Any new concerns? She shook her head. The Zoraxian engine modifications to our ships are working perfectly in simulations. Travel time to the installation should be just under 2 months instead of the 5 years it would have taken us alone. Kay nodded, looking at the screen showing Earth's largest exploration vessel, the Horizon, now fitted with Zoraxian technology. It had been a major concession from the aliens, sharing propulsion technology that Earth scientists were already studying carefully. And the crew selection? Kay asked. Final roster is set. 12 humans, 8 Zoraxians. Mixed teams for all key departments. She gave Kay a concerned look. Are you sure about going yourself? Director Summers thinks you're more valuable here. Kay smiled slightly. I need to be there. The Zoraxians respect me, and if something goes wrong... You mean when something goes wrong? Came a voice from the doorway. General Bradley entered, looking tired but alert. Those aliens are still hiding something. I can feel it. Maybe, Kay admitted, but this mission is too important to pass up, even with the risks. The room began filling with other team members, both human and Zoraxian. Kay noticed that Zell was missing from the alien delegation again. The young diplomat had been absent from several recent meetings, and Zor had simply said he was attending to other duties. Zor and Mira arrived last, their translucent skin rippling with colors as they communicated silently. Kay had learned to read some of their color patterns over the past weeks. Right now, they seemed anxious. "Let us begin," Zor said once everyone was seated. "Final preparations for the mission are complete. The Horizon will depart in 3 days." The meeting progressed smoothly, with various team members reporting on their areas of responsibility. The humans were providing the ship and most of the crew, while the Zoraxians were supplying the advanced navigation technology and their knowledge of precursor artifacts. As the meeting was wrapping up, Kay's secure tablet buzzed with an urgent message. It was from Earth's orbital security station. "Unknown ship approaching, not Zoraxian, requesting instructions." Kay glanced at Zor and Mira, who showed no reaction. They didn't know about this new arrival. "We need to take a short break," Kay announced calmly. "We'll continue in 15 minutes. He caught General Bradley's eye and subtly tilted his head toward the door. The general followed him out of the room. "Something's wrong?" Bradley asked once they were alone. Kay showed him the message. "Could be nothing. Could be the Draken Collective that Azor warned us about." Bradley's face hardened. "I'll alert our defense grid. Do we tell the Zoraxians?" Kay thought for a moment. "Not yet. Let's get more information first." They went to the building's command center, where a large screen showed Earth's orbital space. A small ship was approaching, much smaller than the Zoraxian vessel. "We're receiving a transmission," said the communications officer. "Audio only." "Let's hear it," Kay said. A voice came through the speakers, speaking in perfect English but with a strange melodic quality. "Earth authorities. This is Captain Alara of the Arcadian scout ship Lyra. We request permission to send a representative to speak with your leaders about the Zoraxian presence in your system." Kay and Bradley exchanged looks. The Arcadians were not one of the species Exor had mentioned. "What do we know about Arcadians?" Kay asked the intelligence officer on duty. "Very little, sir. They're mentioned in some Zoraxian files they shared. With us, described as a neutral species with advanced technology but a small territory. They prefer observation and trade over expansion." Kay made a quick decision. Grant them permission to send one representative. Maximum security protocols. An hour later, Kay stood in a secure meeting room with General Bradley and Director Summers. The door opened and 2 security guards escorted in the Arcadian representative. She was humanoid but clearly alien, tall and slender with pale blue skin and silver hair that seemed to float around her head as if underwater. Her eyes were large and completely black with no visible pupils. "I am Lyra, diplomatic envoy of the Arcadian Collective," she said, her voice having the same melodic quality as the transmission. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with me." "I'm Agent Keanu Reeves," Kay said. "This is Director Summers and General Bradley. What brings you to Earth?" Lyra looked at each of them carefully before speaking. "I must be direct. You are in grave danger. The Zoraxians have not told you the full truth about the precursor installation." Kay kept his face neutral. "What haven't they told us?" "The installation is not simply a power source," Lyra said. "It is a weapon of immense destructive capability. The precursors built it as a last resort during their war with the ancient void entities. It was never used because both civilizations destroyed each other before it could be activated. This was completely new information." Kay glanced at his colleagues, seeing their concern. "And how do you know this?" General Bradley asked skeptically. "The Arcadians were once close allies with the Zoraxians," Lyra explained. "We helped them study the precursor artifacts they found, but we withdrew from the alliance when we discovered they planned to use the technology for expansion and dominance." Kay thought carefully before responding. "If what you're saying is true, why would the Zoraxians want to find this weapon now?" "Because of the Draken Collective," Lyra said. "The Drakens have grown powerful, threatening Zoraxian territory. The Empire believes that controlling the precursor weapon would force the Drakens to back down and would secure Zoraxian dominance for millennia to come." The room was silent as they absorbed this information. If the Arcadian was telling the truth, the joint mission had just become much more dangerous. "We need proof," Kay finally said. "This contradicts everything the Zoraxians have told us." Lyra nodded as if she had expected this response. She removed a small crystal from her robe and placed it on the table. It projected a holographic image of ancient-looking symbols. These are precursor writings from another site we discovered. Our linguists have partially translated them. They describe the installation you seek as the final deterrent and the system killer. Does that sound like a power plant to you? Kay studied the symbols. They match the markings on the artifact from Europa. Why are you telling us this? Director Summers asked. What do the Arcadians gain? We seek balance, Lyra said simply. If either the Zoraxians or the Dracons gain control of the weapon, that balance will be destroyed. We believe humans as newcomers to interstellar politics might be more objective. Kay wasn't sure if he believed her, but her warning couldn't be ignored. What would you have us do? Continue your mission, Lyra said, but be vigilant. Once you find the installation, its true purpose will become clear, and then you must ensure neither the Zoraxians nor the Dracons can use it. After Lyra left, Kay, Bradley, and Summers debated what to do. Should they confront the Zoraxians, cancel the mission, proceed but with extra caution? I think we continue as planned, Kay finally said. But we modify the crew selection. More security personnel disguised as scientists and engineers, and I want full control of the mission, not shared command with Zor. The Zoraxians won't agree. To that, Summers warned. They will if we tell them we've had contact with the Arcadians, Kay said. We don't reveal everything Lyra told us, just that she visited. The Zoraxians know we could back out of the mission entirely and they need our help. The next day, Kay met with Zor and Mira alone. He watched their reactions carefully as he told them about the Arcadian visit. Zor's skin darkened with what Kay now recognized as alarm. The Arcadians contacted you? What did they say? They expressed concerns about the precursor installation, Kay said vaguely. They suggested it might be more than just a power source. Mira and Zor exchanged quick glances, their skin rippling with colors. The Arcadians are known for exaggeration, Mira said carefully. They fear any powerful technology. Maybe, Kay said, but their visit has raised concerns. Earth is now requesting full command of the mission, with Zoraxian advisors instead of co-commanders. Zor's skin pulsed with angry colors. That was not our agreement. The agreement can be modified, Kay said calmly, or canceled entirely. Your choice. The Zoraxians conferred silently, their colors changing rapidly. Finally, Zor turned back to Kay. We agree to your terms, he said reluctantly, but we request that you personally command the mission. Other humans might not be as diplomatic. Kay nodded. That was always the plan. As the Zoraxians left, Kay wondered if he was making a terrible mistake. He was now at the center of a complex game between three alien civilizations, with Earth's future possibly hanging in the balance. And in 3 days he would leave his planet behind to seek